We'll try not to make this a dry presentation. We apologize. Information offering is not always an optimal process. So again, it is our intention, our hope that these communications with you will be an ongoing collaboration where we don't have expectation. We do ask. We feel that if we don't ask, that in this world, if you don't ask, you don't get. If we don't offer, then potentials don't occur. We do that with as much humility as possible. We recognize truly, to the degree that we can, what is at stake in our world. And in the present moment, 1 billion children and the planet, and perhaps more than that in the future. And we have faith that something other than that can be the fate of humanity. We have absolute faith and optimism, and we are practical, we are pragmatic, and we are grounded in our approach. And we want to ensure that we remain so, and that in every communication that those understandings are offered on the front end of the conversation. The United Nations has declared that we are in the middle of a climate catastrophe that is occurring now. And although this is challenging to accept, if we cannot accept what we cannot accept, we cannot change, not constructively and intelligently. So there's a dynamic of acceptance globally that must occur for concerted, mobilized, aligned, constructive action that has an evolutionary process supporting it to occur. We have a short-term window of opportunity available to us as a species to choose a more conscious and optimal path without blaming or judging our economic systems, leadership, social dynamics, any nation, or any organization. We feel that will waste time, truly precious time. There must be massive healing globally, culturally, and nationally, and within cultures, within nations, within organizations, within genders, within peoples. And it must occur quite rapidly. And there must be some system of healing, facilitated healing at scale, if we want people to feel safe enough, with enough trust and enough faith and enough determination to put their shoulders to the wheel adequately to bring about global transformation. So this is just a few reasons, we're sorry for all the verbiage on this slide, of why we perceive that climate change resolution has not occurred, why we've not yet moved the needle on climate change. Massive work has been done, and we have not, as of yet, collectively, even after COP26, been willing to bear the burden of resolving the symptoms of our own prior choices, whether we look at that as facing our collective karma as a species, or whether we look at that as simply the cause and effect domino processes of our prior actions and technologies, and just the increase of population or the dynamics of tribalism. Many of these elements have been in the way of us moving together collectively in the present moment at necessary scale, at necessary speed, with necessary resources. Leadership in our world, in the United States, you might be hard pressed to find a university that has a leadership program that is designed to create leaders that are competent, capable, caring, compassionate, and whole people, as well as being very knowledgeable and empowered in their personal understandings and process. We would rather hire whoever gets votes in our United States. We would rather put anyone that seems like they may be able to keep the status quo in place in power. And that process has a built-in glass ceiling of wisdom and understanding and capacity. Nations are not designed to change and evolve at the speed that the world must now change and evolve. Even organizations are not designed to change at that speed. They need help. They need understanding. They need information. They need a new paradigm. They need to learn to collaborate consciously and wisely. And as of yet, they don't know how because they're busy competing or distrusting or seeking profit or keeping their constituencies or their investors happy. And thus we are locked into a straitjacket of incapacity to evolve into a new paradigm globally and as a species. Somehow, some way, through some mechanism, we're not claiming that the one we're going to offer is it. We're saying that some system must be developed that allows for globally adequate collective action on climate change. And that action has not been taken because there is, as of yet, no complete system of coordinated management in place to make all facets of global solutions processed transparently, effectable, and visible, and to achieve those goals directly, efficiently, effectively, and successfully. What we're speaking of is the social movement engine, or the SME, or some system equal or better than it, is not yet in place to activate and manage and monitor collective agreements. And there needs to be a venue for verification that those collective agreements are constantly being held to and developed and evolved. A collaborative environment with necessary tools, data, and technology to work out whatever the necessary solutions are, strategies and plans, and all the associated details, and to manage and monitor all of that. Nations cannot do this on their own. Poor nations don't have the resources. Rich nations are often internally at odds with their own constituencies, and they don't have an educational system that is within the nation to help them understand when, where, and how and why it's necessary to bite the bullet or endure the discomfort or give up some of their comforts, or to work collectively for very long-term goals that are not personal to their life process, that are not going to benefit them as individuals or as a family or as a town or city, wherever they're living in. It is our assessment, and again, we're open to being incorrect in this regard, that collective conscious collaboration and applied grounded conscious decision-making are the antidotes to climate change. Any system that we could put out there, whether it's a new political system, a new economic system, a new system of governance, can be gamed. It can be spun. It can be manipulated. And they are being gamed, spun, and manipulated right now. The underlying energies of humanity, of wanting what we want, primally, selfishly, self-centeredly, narcissistically, egoistically, we see as the root of the issue. If we continue to operate from a foundation of wanting what we want and not experiencing what we don't want, if that's our core decision-making strategy as a species, it will not map to climate change resolution. If we approach climate change as if it is an enemy that we are all collectively against, not realizing that we are the enemy in that paradigm, or seeing the ecosystem as the enemy to be conquered and subjugated sociopathically for our species development or survival, it's unlikely that will be the result, meaning that's unlikely that we will be able to generate a working ecosystem and a working process for humanity. Our tribal systems no longer work. And we cannot, in our view, continue to live and survive as tribal entities for personal tribal benefit in competition with other tribes or nations against nations. There is no more room in our world for narcissistic, ego-driven, or fear-driven ambitions. And there must be some system, some necessarily complete system to communicate those understandings to the world, because humanity has not been prepared for this massive global transformation, educationally, informationally, culturally, nor politically, nor economically. So if we try to wing it as a collective, we feel that will generate as many problems as it does solutions. Right now, we tried to shift from fossil fuels to green technology and to make a hard cutover. So we didn't plan a smooth graceful transformation from coal and natural gas to green technologies, solar, air power, wind power, et cetera. And so now there are countries that are firing up their coal plants again because they've run out of electricity and the prices of coal and gas are going up. And there are countries, it appears Russia may be holding off on allowing natural gas to go to the EU. So is there the potential for blackmail between nations for necessary requisite energy that would support successful transformation in order to jockey for position politically, economically, and in terms of power? So there must be some system to reconcile all of this, because the United Nations is literally foundationally not designed to arrive at that result. This is very simplistic. We get that. COP26 is a vital accomplishment. And in our understanding, it has identified many of the current and projected environmental impacts. It has made agreements that are very loose agreements and very loose commitments without specific timelines in many cases, and without a system to verify that people are keeping the agreements or how well they're doing it, and without any central coordination. So they have general consensus, and there is also a potential for a global for-profit feeding frenzy as trillions of dollars are put into a centralized fund, and then a non-strategized approach to solutions generation, a non-cohesive, non-integrated approach is applied. So we feel that if there is not a central guidance system and strategy for climate change resolution with a system of governance of that process, monitoring every phase of it and learning from every phase of it, if there's no centrally and fully defined functional integrated system for support of global scale collaboration and logistical management for transforming our world and its nations, that we will run into massive problems. Unforeseen and unforeseeable problems, because we will be trying to do it the way we've always done it. We'll try to solve it in a piecemeal fashion, a grain of sand by grain of sand approach, rather than looking at the big picture. So we feel there's no way currently to ensure that all nations and organizations are compliant and accountable with a collective agreement system that is indelible, blockchain designed so that it can't be modified after the fact nor denied. There's inadequate mutual support between nations to allow have-not countries such as India to shift out of dependence on coal in a timely manner. And again, inadequate monitoring systems that are standardized monitoring globally, standardized metrics, standardized systems for data acquisition in every nation, and that where a central place or many central points where that data can be rolled up, evaluated, analyzed, and applied strategically to manage and govern the process of global transformation. These are just a few things that we feel are necessary shifts that must occur. If we're looking at practical, real world, get traction change, the way people think, the way they make decisions, and the criteria they base their decisions on, their behaviors day in, day out within their nations, within their homes, must change. Their interpretive lenses and dynamics must change. We're not suggesting forcing any view on anybody. We suggest offering accurate, timely, comprehensive, complete information, and to have that information be continually developed, evolved, refined, so it's the best information, whether it's deemed scientific information or social information or political information or economic information, be made available to all stakeholders and all cultures and all nations. We feel that, as we said at the beginning, that there must be new systems of generating solutions. If we generate a carbon capture machine that generates more carbon to produce it and maintain it and dispose of it than it actually accumulates or collects from the environment, that's not a smart choice. That's not a wise choice. And our technology now is based upon a lot of materials that are not recyclable by our planet. So the tendencies, emotional reactive tendencies, which are tribal and endemic in our world, and which make collaboration currently non-feasible, because there isn't a system for facilitating people into a collaborative mindset and way of looking at things and working together. People tend to project their fears onto things. They often tend to operate from personal self-interest. The trajectories and habits of tribal tendencies are unconsciously repeated over and over like a tribal dance. New definitions of how to arrive at personal and organizational goals, missions, visions, shifts and changes in organizational and political governance processes. If people don't have a model, if they don't have a path defined for them, if there's no roadmap for this transformation, we'll make it up as we go. And time has shown us, history has shown us, that when we do that, we tend to shoot ourselves in the foot and not recognize until gangrene has set in that we've shot ourselves in the foot. Again, 1 billion children are at extreme risk, and that's presently. We have 8 years to draw down carbon. We've heard both 45% and 55% globally. That means the world, every organization in our world must change in 8 years. There must be a system that facilitates that change occurring. This might sound impossible. It may sound daunting. It may sound like nobody's going to want to do it. It may sound like we're not ready or capable. And we are. And we can do it. We have absolute faith that humanity can and will meet these challenges collectively and together in an aligned, constructive, effective, efficient way. So we feel that it is time to find a way to make the impossible possible and to do it, to truly do it, implement it, manage it, maintain it, evolve it. The social movement engine, a way of bringing collectives together in common cause in an educational collaboration support environment with every necessary tool and access to every necessary database and information source and source of expertise and resource necessary to generate a sustained transformational effort that can grow. It can scale to any level. This construct can either be a central construct for all nations to interoperate with, or this can operate as a fractal, and there could be one of these design systems per nation that would roll up into a central system. So this is a feasible system. We have gone to 2 separate IT organizations, and we've been told that it is feasibly constructed. The technology exists. There will be a lot of custom software coding that is necessary to do, and we perceive that it can be done in a what might be termed a parallel fashion, so that the entirety of the system can be developed and evolved simultaneously so that it can arrive in a short time, within 3 years. The 3 segments that you were just looking at are in this central circle, the social movement engine. These various organizational groups, along with many others, would be interoperating with it collaboratively, either in a loose and coordinated fashion, it's simply an education, receiving free education from it, free coordinative information from it, or accessing it for their own developmental or transformational purposes. As they move in closer to center, they synchronize their activities ever more with full synchronization and synthesis of expertise, knowledge, resources, organizational capacity, national capacity. We can attain a well-coordinated, efficient, effective global transformational effort. We understand that the entire world might not think it's a wise thing to do to jump in and be participative in such a model. And we feel that this model would immediately prove itself far more functional, effective, and efficient than at least any other model that we have had seen proposed. And again, this is a sketch. This is an option. And we are open and will be overjoyed if someone else says, oh, by the way, we've already got everything that you've got there. We've already solved it. It's in operation today. And it takes into account all of the social, anthropological, and cultural, and religious, and political, and economic issues of our world. And it takes into account how to transform the thoughts and minds and hearts of humanity in a well-organized, synchronized way in order to generate conscious collaboration that is focused on the common good. This is the foundation of the system. This is levels 1A and 1B. These are the baseline capacities that we feel will be necessary in order to affect these goals in the near term. There must be food security and food and fresh water. There must be a collective agreement management system. There must be central coordination and orchestration. There must be disaster response and long-term recovery capability that is not single organization nor single nation centric. There must be a learning management system and a knowledge management system. It's got to be secure. We're currently envisioning GDPR compliance, the European Union standards, if you will, that are comparable to those of California. There must be a social movement platform for social movements to be heard and participative and to align and operate collectively. There also must be a collaboration space, a multi-level collaboration space that will allow the most sophisticated technologies and experts and educational facilities to work together hand in harmony, continually, in order to generate strategies and solutions, to implement them, and then to monitor them. There must be a logistics system that manages resources of all kinds, expertise of all kinds. We are also suggesting that, again, as we said in the beginning, there must be a way to collect issues from on the ground people who are experiencing challenges in life, so that suppressive nations don't have a way to hide their suppressive tendencies and to undermine a collaborative global effort that has accountability at its core. And this system is a global transformation system, a global agreement system, a global education system, a food security management system, a disaster recovery system. It is designed to orchestrate evolution, collective synchronized evolution of our species in such a way as to do our very best to guarantee that the planet is not damaged, that we don't find seeming reason to go to war, to terrorize each other, that we can have enough understanding of each other to find it within ourselves to work together peacefully and collaboratively. And this is not pie in the sky. We know the history of the world. We've studied literally the history of the world. We understand human nature, and we also understand that human nature in its prior manifestations will not get us to where we want to go. There is no for-profit solution to global warming. And we feel that that is a basic tenet of this approach. And we're almost to the end of the slideshow. I thank heaven. This is one of the feeds to the social movement engine we've just been looking at. We feel that a set of rolling workshops that involve documentary makers, social media issue experts, not involving Facebook, involving people who understand the problems that social media is creating in terms of disunity and polarization and prejudice and bias and social dysfunction, and is the damage that it's done to our children, their emotional process and their developmental processes and socialization. Recognize spiritual leaders, representatives of all areas of diversity in the world, and for-profit and non-profit CEOs, billionaires, powerful and wealthy people, and visionaries, along with climate change experts. So we feel that this kind of transdisciplinary workshop approach will be generative of solutions. These people will generate literal solutions. We would record these workshops. Each workshop would be analyzed and would feed the design of every future workshop. So a constantly evolving rolling workshop paradigm, and that information would constantly feed the social movement engine construct so that there would be assurance of an ongoing flow of education that is as informed as we can possibly make it, as integrous as we can possibly make it, and as diverse as we can possibly make it, and as equal as we can possibly make it. We are talking in this slide about the tap root, which is this primal drive to survive. The underlying energy of humanity that has wiped out so many species and damaged the world is so sociopathic that it would be happy to burn down the world as long as it was the one that got to strike the match. That is a vital understanding for this conversation. If we cannot approach that intention, that underlying species level intention. Thank you very much, Stephen. Thank you for being here, and God bless. If we cannot approach this foundational predisposition and not recognize that our current world process is a veneer of that dynamic, our population increase at the expense of the world, our generation of cities at the expense of the planet and its species, and our tribalistic focuses at the expense of all other nations, without method and process for true reconciliation. If we cannot do that, if we cannot accept that to be true, we won't strategize for dealing with that part of human nature. These are some of the basic capacities of the social movement system, social movement engine system. We've alluded to them. We're just reiterating. We wanted them to be on this recording so that they would be available to you in future. We're going to distribute this recording to all of you. If you find it of use, God bless you. If it seems wrong, bad, unnecessary, non-applicable, pie in the sky, we understand. and we hope that it has been and will be of value to you in the future for any conversations, collaborative conversations you folks may have with other folks in the future. We wish to ask if any of you would be open to bring your folks that you know together collaboratively in this endeavor. If you have people that you feel would be open to this messaging, it is impassioned messaging. We apologize. We are not zealous. We are truly committed, and we're committed to service, and committed to equality, and committed to wholesome health and unconditional love. We have zero judgment of any past historical dynamic of humanity. We could not be who we are here today, speaking on Zoom together and contemplating how to evolve our species, were it not for every choice that every human being has made in the past. So this is progress, and we can achieve this progress more wholesomely than we have.